Good morning, 5th graders. This is Mrs. Case coming to you from Friday, where we have just wiped the floor with you guys in that volleyball game. Well, I'm here this morning to tell you what we're going to be doing in music class today. Mrs. Seibel has written instructions, and two of your friends, Yulia and Emma, understand what we're doing, but I wanted to give everybody an explanation. Let me show you some things on the board. Today we're going to be learning about a new rhythm. It's called 16th notes. Now, why are they called 16th notes? Well, let's review some other rhythms we know. All of the rhythms we have learned are named based on how much time they get in a 4-beat measure. Most music that we know is 4 beats in a measure. Sometimes this is called common time. That's what the C represents. So for instance, the whole note is called a whole note because it takes the entire measure. It gets all 4 beats, right? The half note is called a half note because it gets half of the measure, only 2 beats. The quarter note is called a quarter note because it gets a quarter of the measure, only 1 beat. Then we get into the tricky ones. The 8th note is called an 8th note because it gets an 1/8 of the measure, which in 4 beats, an 1/8 of 4 beats is a half a beat. So what about these new guys, the 16th notes? What does one of them get? Well, in a measure of 4 beats, how many of them would there be? There would be 16 of them. That's why it's called a 16th note. And it only gets a quarter of a beat. So you're not going to see them by themselves very often. Today we're going to try using them in a group of 4. And guess what? A group of 4 16th notes is all squeezed into just 1 beat, like the 8th notes share a beat. So today you're going to try an activity where you have to use the quarter note, 8th note pair, and 16th note groups mixed together. All 3 are only worth a beat. We're going to use soda cans. These 3 flavors. The quarter note will be represented by the flavor grape. The 8th note pair will be represented by the root beer. And the pair of the group, of 16th notes will be represented by bottled water. Homemade labels by yours truly. Emma and Yulia are going to come up and lead you in a steady beat, and you're simply going to read through the flavors using their names. Grape, 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 grape. Root beer, root beer, root beer, root beer. Bottled water, bottled water, bottled water, bottled water. You'll probably get good at that pretty quickly. So the next step is to start at the bottom and go backwards. Then the next step is for someone to come up and reorganize the flavors. I told Miss Levine's class it's kind of like going up to the soda fountain and mixing your soda flavors together to make a new concoction. After one person reorganizes, Miss Seibel will send another person to try the same thing. Then, when we get really good at that, we're going to add the 4th row by taking some of the cans out of rows 1, 2, and 3, put them in the 4th row so that there's empty spots up here, and the empty spots represent, I'll bet you know, a rest. So have fun experimenting with 16th note groups represented by flavored beverages. After this activity, you'll get to try listening for 16th note groups in the Kelly Riley activity called Rhythm Trainer. Have fun!